Hello, my name is John Creger, and this is my subjectivity presentation. I apologize for speaking fast because there's a lot of stuff I want to get through. First, let me say that practicing reflexivity is super important as we analyze our biases, our preconceptions, and our beliefs through our own lived experiences in the past and how that's gotten us to this point. So, I'm a 38-year-old white, cisgendered, straight male, and I work as a professional school counselor in Marietta City Schools. I've been a school counselor for 13 years, been in the field of education for 16 years, and some of the values that I've brought with me into this work include having a hard work ethic, demonstrating integrity, as well as having goodwill towards people in general, treating them with dignity and respect that they deserve. I think this has helped me as a school counselor as I treat students with unconditional positive regard and I try to help them and their families in their time of need. I think this also has shaped me as a student and as a scholar because just really being dedicated to the field of scholarship, it's not for the faint of heart, and it takes a lot of hard work ethic, sacrifice, commitment, as we all know. So going into my subjective labels, they're not directly related to Peshkin's eyes, but some that I've brought for myself is what I call the learning eye and the leadership eye. I will say that with the basis that I really enjoy learning about how to become a better school counselor, and that's why I'm enrolled in these classes. But more so, I just don't serve my students, but I also have a passion and a desire to serve other school counselors and be a leader for them as well. So as you can see, I'm pursuing this doctorate education, so I really value learning, and I concur with Horace Mann where he says education is the greatest equalizer. I believe that it can reduce inequalities and create learning opportunities for all people. So as a school counselor, I advocate to make my students have the best learning experiences as possible to reduce those barriers for them. I also believe in my own self that I need to continuously be learning and staying abreast about best practices in school counseling to help my students. But unfortunately, all my employers that I've had in our professional learning communities, they really haven't been that helpful. And so I have to go out and seek these learning opportunities for myself, either through enrolling in higher education classes. I have my master's degree, specialist, now getting a doctorate degree, as well as my active participation in local, state, and national professional organizations as well. So I don't want to keep this knowledge to myself, but I also want to share it with other people as well. Like I said before, where I want to be a leader among leaders for the school counseling community in the state of Georgia. So my next subjectivity is what I call the leadership eye. Over the last 5 years, I've taken more leadership roles at the local, state, national levels, being a part of different leadership chairs, committee members, board memberships, and things like that. I've also taken on a lot of interns and been a site supervisor for a lot of school counseling interns over the last 5 years. I have a current role right now with the Georgia School Counseling Association. It's called the ASCA Ramp Leadership Chair, where it's my job to essentially advocate across the state at different conferences and talking with different school counselors about how to implement comprehensive school counseling programming. I also speak at different presentations on other school counseling related topics as well. So that kind of develops my leadership eye. Now that you've heard a little bit about that, let me speak to how this has impacted my approach to being a scholar practitioner in training. I will say that the learning eye has influenced my approach because I've sought out these higher education learning opportunities, and I've really appreciated when I've completed assignments that are real practical in nature that I can use in my everyday work, like less about theory and more about practicality of my work with students. The learning eye influences my viewpoint towards research and scholarship because even though it's really daunting, I'm seeking out these learning opportunities to learn from other scholars in my field and gaining knowledge in my classwork, like this class, about qualitative research methodologies, how to analyze data, and hopefully how to put all this into use with my dissertation. More specifically, I'm really interested in researching more about the construct reliability and construct validity of school counselor evaluation tools, which I'll speak about later. The leadership eye has influenced my approach to being a scholar practitioner in training because I'm in a current position right now to teach and train other school counselors in the state about best practices. And my leadership I influences my viewpoint towards research and scholarship because I'm in a pretty unique position that I can use my position at GSCA for advocacy purposes. So the research that I plan to do, I plan to use as an advocacy tool. And I believe that valid research isn't just theoretical, but it also spurs systemic change. So using your research to make systemic change in your professional field, for myself, hopefully it's going to be as it relates to school counselor evaluation tools. The strengths and weaknesses of my subjective labels. The Learning Eye affords me opportunities to explore and learn relevant school counseling topics that impact my everyday practice, but a limitation is I may presume that other school counselors hold the same values towards learning, or they have equitable access to professional development opportunities or learning opportunities. And if they don't have access to these, kind of like myself in the past, that they would go and seek those out for their own. The Leadership Eye has positioned me with privilege as a researcher because I have access to other school counselors as potential participants in my research, and I can leverage my leadership role for advocacy practices at the state level. I view this role as a strength, but also a potential bias because I may view or judge other school counselors a certain way if they're not implementing comprehensive school counseling programming like I think that they should or I believe that they should. And I also need to be aware that there may be some systemic problems or political problems that prevent school counselors fulfilling their roles. We all know that every school counselor, depending upon their principal or their demographic makeup of their students, kind of what their jobs and their roles, responsibilities are in their schools. So I have my own bias of what I think they should be as a leader, but they may be doing something different. Reflexivity in action. I plan to practice this throughout the research process by utilizing journaling techniques, memo taking techniques, and also just having debriefing conversations with peer mentors about my personal beliefs and the biases and how they may impact my data collection and the interpretation of the data. I find that in my dissertation process right now, just talking with other people and letting them be a sounding board for my ideas has been super helpful. To account for my subjectivity strengths and weaknesses, one behavior that I can proactively manage is my interviewing techniques, getting these vetted by other people, making sure that my questions are not biased or they're not leading, as well as being transparent with my subjectivities and my positionality statement, making sure that participants are informed about who I am, my background, and my purpose here of my research. Last thing, I'm going to talk about my research topic that I'm super interested in, and it's going to be researching the construct validity of the counselor keys evaluation system. There's no set evaluation tool for all of school counselors in the state of Georgia. That's a problem because there's differing opinions about what school counselors should be doing and their job performances, so I'm trying to standardize that. The Leadership Eye can play a part of that in my subjectivities because I do have a vested interest in GSCA, and they're the ones who developed this tool. And so the Leadership Eye has a bias there, as well as the Learning Eye is I'm gonna find that probably pointing out some deficits in school counselors' learning opportunities and the professional development opportunities, as well as administrators and the lack thereof of putting this tool into practice and doing it with fidelity. So those are the two subjective eyes that I see really taking place in my role as a researcher with my dissertation. Thank you.